back. He's back! You can't keep getting away with it! He can't keep getting away with it! He won't.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 25th, it's April, and it's 2025, and I have successfully reclaimed 4 out of 6 channels. So we just got 250,000 subscribers back in the last couple of weeks, and I hired a guy, a social media attorney, years ago when this first happened and tried to get my main channel back, and it didn't work. And then suddenly I come back from the road, and all of a sudden I keep getting emails, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I've got the banned one, 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗶, back. If you're not familiar with that channel, this would be it right here. And it's just sitting here like a time capsule from 2020. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but I highly suggest that you subscribe to it and all my others, because who knows when they're going to take me out. And I mean, it's astonishing how many people think that I just stopped making videos. I've been grinding out videos on Richie from Boston TV, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey the entire time, the absolute entire time, knowing that they don't really, nobody sees them because they're tough platforms to use, but they're there. You see what I'm saying? And I'm also on Patreon, and I've been pretty active on Patreon lately. But at any rate, I didn't want to make a video because it's late, it's dark, and I wanted to go hit the rack. But one of my subscribers hit me up, and he's from Pebble Beach, and he sent me an email, and I'm going to show it to you. To protect his email, I put this over here on Microsoft Word, but it says, "Hey, Richie, I've got something for you. I'm a local handyman and had to go to a client's house in Monterey. In Monterey, I don't know what that means, to do some work. While I was there, she mentioned that she wanted me to have a look at a few things because the city of Monterey had adopted fire prevention plans and there was stuff she wanted to do. She explained the city had sent them a letter and that the fire department was going to start doing property inspections. I asked her if I could see the letter, and she said she would find it and send it to me, which she did, and now I'm going to send it to you. We also talked about insurance, and their policy is also through the state. There is no option for a private insurance for them. They have a very nice house, above average for that part of Monterey. They are attorneys, and they're not keen on what's really going on, but when it comes to working so that I can provide for my family, I take what I can and keep the chatter to a minimum. You know what I mean. I do. If I couple this with what we saw on Nextdoor, I'm 100% sure that this area is the next target. 100% expect a major fire incident here by the end of the year and preparing accordingly. I think we're fine where we're at, but whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It's going to be close within a few miles. If you have any questions, I can try to fill you in. You can get a hold of me. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Well, here's the thing. I've said this once, I've said it a dozen times. I went out to LA. I had a problem with somebody in LA, and emails and phone calls weren't doing it for me. So I said, screw it. I'm going there. I've been talking to this dude for years, this, that, and the other thing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go there and confront this dude face to face. I get to Upland, California, which abuts LA. And it's like 9 o'clock at night, and it's like, I got a shower. I got a hotel room there. There's a hotel room I go to quite often. It's very short money. It's like $80 a night, and there's often crack and crystal meth enthusiasts that stay there as well. But nobody ever messes with my truck, and there's gates, so the truck is locked in. So that's where I stayed. I went to sleep. LA was there. I woke up the next morning. LA had burned to the ground. Totally burned to the ground. So I've been right there when I've seen the power of what directed energy weapons can do. And that's what this guy's talking about. He has a real bad feeling that Pebble Beach or Monterey is going to get burned to the ground. And if you look at the map, it's under a smart city. I'm going to show you the document the fire department had sent to them. So this might be boring to a lot of you, but let me tell you something. If this can prove that they're going to do this, because just because I put a YouTube video up, they're not going to stop what they're doing. But this is from the fire department. The state fire marshal identifies areas in the state as moderate, high, and very high hazard severity zones. based on blah, 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 local climate data, blah, 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 blah. This is what they want you to do. Clear all dead, dying vegetation around the building within a minimum of 30 feet. Create a defensible space. Blah, 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 blah. You can see it right here. You can read it yourself. I'm not going to read it. It's late, and it is what it is. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay? Stand by. This is the exact location that he's talking about right here. This pinpoint, okay? See that? That's California, Mount Shasta, LA's down here. And here's the smart cities. Does that look familiar to you? Is that ringing any bells? LA's down here. LA's down here. And look at that. Look at that. That's exactly where their smart cities are intended on being. So what I'm doing is raising the alarm now, because if you lived in that area and you had an inkling and you had paperwork to back it up, I'd do the same for you. You know what I'm saying? I would absolutely do the same thing for you, because I don't know what else to do. But this is definitely a harbinger. This guy, he sent me several emails, and he's legit. He's just somebody that's really concerned. And you saw that was one out of like 5 emails. And when he sent me the documentation, I knew that it was for real. So anybody that lives in that area, understand that this is a thing. They're only allowing you to get insurance from one place, and chances are your water hydrants won't have any water in them, things of that nature, etc. And on a brighter note, I want you to listen to this. This was with Joe Rogan. This is Jordan Peterson. I thought this was worthy. Before I play this, just keep in mind, these words are just inspirational. I don't know if Jordan Peterson is for real or not, but this was a very inspirational thing to listen to. All right, so leave it at that. There's your caveat. There's your disclaimer.
That to me is one of the most fascinating aspects of Christianity, regardless of whether or not you think logically these things took place. Logically, these stories are a completely accurate depiction of exactly how it went. If you follow the principles, it's incredibly beneficial to your spiritual life as a person. Like you will,
that's a kind of interesting proof, isn't it? Because
yeah.
It means that
There's truth in it.
Well, there's certainly the spirit that makes, what would you say? The spirit of truth that makes life more abundant. That's exactly right. And these are weird stories because the way they're true is very sophisticated. They're true always. And that's different than a story about the past. Like the truest story is always happening. And the story of Moses is exactly like that. Like the pattern of leadership development that's embedded in the Exodus story, that is how leaders develop, if they're real leaders. And their temptation is power, but that's not their motivation. That's their temptation, right? That's a very important distinction. And that's always the case with leaders. And if they fall prey to the temptation of power, no matter what their accomplishments, they're not going to complete the task.
Right.
And so there's a cool element at the end of that story too. You know, when Moses, just before Moses dies, I don't know what sense to make out of the metaphysics of the religious realm, you know, because that's beyond me and everyone. The world's a strange place, and we could leave it at that. But the idea that, see, Christ is the exemplar of voluntary self-sacrifice, right? Won't turn to power, won't deviate from his course, faces the worst of all possible deaths, descends to hell itself. That's the pattern of life lived with no reserve. And that's the foundation of the free state. And that's right. I tried that on Brett, eh? He told me when we first met on the tour that he felt that the biblical narratives were anachronistic, you know, that they were written in a time that was no longer relevant to us. But he decided by the end of our 3 days together that if you got to the core of the message, it's alive, right? That's the living spirit inside the bush, you might say.
Right.
And that it's, so here's even the weirder thing. So imagine, it's pretty obvious that Christ is a symbol of voluntary self-sacrifice, right? I don't think it doesn't really come as a shock to anyone. But the weird thing is, you know, we put that symbol at the center of our churches and at the centers of our towns for 2,000 years, not really knowing why. And the reason is that Voluntary self-sacrifice is the foundation of the integrated psyche and the stable, productive, and abundant community. And that's right. It's right. And so, well, it's been exciting to have the opportunity over the last 9 months to go talk to people about that, because I've talked to about 150,000 people, I guess, public lectures.
What is your take on, there's a university in Jerusalem that had this theory that the burning bush was the acacia bush. And the acacia bush is rich in DMT.
Well, I think, look, I think that hallucinogens strip memory from perception. So you see the world in all its blazing glory. Huxley figured that out with the doors of perception. That's really that is apparently what psychedelics do psychopharmacologically. They mimic a high stress condition, and they strip memory from perception so that you can return to the source and revitalize your perceptions. Right, so the probability that there's some overlap between that and the burning bush is high. It's high, so to speak. High. Yeah. So I'll tell you one more thing, one more story, okay, if that's all right with you. So something else I figured out that I tried on Brett. So imagine you could take the hedonistic path, you could take the power path, you could take the nihilistic path. Okay, and then you might say, well, that's the only three options. That's kind of what the postmodernists believe. That's kind of what the nihilists and the postmodernists, the Nietzscheans believe. Power, hedonism, nihilism, those are your options. There's no uniting narrative above that. Okay, so in the story of Cain and Abel, two patterns are laid out that are different than that. One is Cain's pattern, one's Abel's pattern. So these are the first two people that live in the world, right? Because Adam and Eve are made by God. They're in paradise, or were. Cain and Abel are the first two people. So Abel brings his best to the table. So he takes the best animal in his flock, and he takes the best cut and the best part of the cut, and he offers that to God. So he literally brings his best to the table. That's what he sacrifices. And Cain doesn't. So Cain's sacrifices are rejected by God. And God tells him, if you brought your best to the table, you'd be accepted. And Cain gets bitter and resentful and invites temptation in to possess him. So that spirit of resentment possesses him, and then he becomes murderous. He kills his brother, and his descendants become genocidal, and then you have the flood. And so that pattern of sacrifice is established right at the beginning of the biblical texts. Abel versus Cain. Abel brings the best to the table, and that satisfies God. So one question. God actually asks Cain this when Cain complains. He says, wouldn't you be accepted if you were doing your best? And so that's a question of conscience, right? If you're in extreme misery and your life is hollow and empty and you're bitter and resentful, it's like, you bringing your best to the table? Because the covenant proclaims that if you did, you'd be accepted.
Yeah.
So
clearly.
Okay, so now the question is, what constitutes, now you have to sacrifice. So sacrifice becomes the foundation of the state, not power, not hedonism, it's sacrifice. And then that motif is played out through the whole Bible, and that's what culminates in the New Testament, right? Total sacrifice as the foundation of the community.
So you may or may not have remembered, but I was a huge Joe Rogan fan until Joe Rogan had Neil deGrasse Tyson on. And Joe asked him, this is way back. Joe asked him about chemtrails, and Neil just, pshaw, that's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. I stopped listening to Rogan back then, and I stopped following Neil deGrasse Tyson. I literally went to Foxwoods to listen to a lecture by Tyson years ago, probably 17, 18 years ago, or whatever it was. And Joe Rogan grew up where I grew up. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. But Rogan is probably the smartest, dumbest person I've ever met, because he'll listen to anything from anybody and completely, that's it. This guy with a PhD told me Elon Musk, like, he's in love with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is nothing more than a front man. He's a action figure. Okay? He didn't start Tesla. He didn't start SpaceX. I mean, this is all nonsensical. Completely nonsensical. The United States government just suddenly gives over their space program to anybody that can afford to shoot a rocket up and down with Katy Perry in it. Come on, man. At any rate, when I saw that clip, I don't know where Jordan Peterson's at. I don't know if he's another plant like Russell Brand or like Alex Jones or like any of these people, because Alex Jones is a complete Elon Musk guy. He's a complete Trump guy. He showed his true colors. I told you years ago that this guy was a CIA plant, and the reason I know that is Alex told us that his father was in the CIA. What are the odds your dad's in the CIA and you suddenly pop up and you become the #1 truth channel on YouTube? Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Seriously. At any rate, I don't know where Jordan Peterson is at, if he's for real, if he came around, if he grew spiritually, if he went through all these different things. And I mean, he came down, and this is his absolute... This is exactly what he thinks things are, what he just finished saying. Because what he just finished saying is absolutely right. It's all about self-sacrifice at the end of the day. And the sad thing is, self-sacrifice and sacrifice are the two biggest things. One going up, one going down. And we're watching people right now all over the world getting blood sacrificed by places like Israel, Ashkenazis, etc. Just got this channel back. They're doing a non-stop blood sacrifice while the machine just keeps pushing forward and pushing forward and pushing forward. If you live in that area near Monterey or Pebble Beach, you are a target, and you probably already got the paperwork I just showed everybody. You know what I'm saying? This guy was really freaked out, and he said he's been there a long time, and he's got a funny feeling that the directed energy is going to show up over his neighborhood next. If you live in that area, be aware, man. Seriously. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm just passing along the message, because if we could save one life of somebody that doesn't deserve any of this, I'm down for it. At any rate, have a good night, guys. Richie from Boston. Like, share, subscribe. I'm going to leave links to all my channels below. Subscribe to all of them. Doesn't cost you a cent. Or don't. I'm out.